Hey everyone! In this video, I'm going to go over some tips and tricks that I found to be very helpful when testing a study. So, I'm currently on the CHI web study page, and I'm on the Stager testing environment. And again, you can tell by looking at the URL, which says hhtech.io. If the URL had .eurekaplatform.org, then we would know that we are on the production environment or the live environment. Okay, so we're on the Stager testing environment, and there are 3 areas of testing that I want you guys to be very mindful of and to look out for and to test. So first is functionality. I want you guys to click on every button, all the links, make sure everything is working properly, as well as read all the content to minimize typos, make sure things are really clear. And then lastly, focusing on design. We want things to look either exactly or extremely close to the mock-ups, so having a keen eye to recognize any issues or deviations from what we're expecting is ideal when testing. So now you're going to put on your participant hat and you're going to navigate around the study. You're going to click on everything, you're going to review everything with a fine-tooth comb, and you're going to join the study. Now, the first step in joining the study is you actually have 2 options. You can either click on Join the Initiative and proceed like a study participant, so go through the sign up page, enter in information, go through that process. Or we have this other functionality on the Stager testing website, which allows you to skip the portion of the sign up page where you have to enter in fake information and jump straight into the consent. So I'm just going to show you guys what that looks like. So if I clicked on Join the Initiative, then I would see the pledge page, and then I would create fake information and fill this out to create a test user. Some tips about email. So for creating a test email, some tips that I like, or some email addresses that I like to use are, you can come up with whatever name or portion of the email that you would like before the @ symbol. But let's just say I'm going to put my name, Brittany, and then @ and I like to use as domains either example.com, sometimes I'll use test.com, or even me.com. Those are email addresses that typically work, that you can use as test email addresses. But let's say that you've decided that you don't want to go through this process of creating all this information because you've done it multiple times already, because it is important that you do create test users by filling out this information, because on production, participants won't be able to just jump past this section. So you want to make sure that this functionality works as well. But let's say that you've created a number of these test users already and you want to skip this step. You can click on Get to the CHOPA, and again, this functionality will allow you to skip creating a new test user, and it will actually assign you a test user that's already in the database that is new, so that you don't need to come up with somebody new. So I'm going to click on Get to the CHOPA, and it's going to assign me a test user from our database. And we're now looking at the consent screen. So again, make sure you read everything, all the links work, make sure you test those out. Just for the sake of creating this this training, I'm going to kind of jump through these. So agreed to participate. Now I'm looking at the eligibility. and I'm eligible. So now I see the survey sections that I'm going to be completing, and I've jumped right into the surveys. So again, when you're completing the surveys, make sure you read all the lines and make sure that answer responses make sense, and questions that are mandatory are actually mandatory, and you can check that by clicking click here to finish and then seeing which questions are actually required. So again, for the sake of this training video, I'm going to just breeze through this. I'm not going to read through everything. I'm just going to come up with a country. I'm just going to kind of click don't note for a number of these. Again, just for the sake of kind of getting through this to show you some other tips and tricks. Okay. So now we can go back to the home page, and there's another survey for us to take. Okay, so you can go through all the surveys. You can see that there are 5 surveys in this section. You can kind of pick and choose what you want to work on. Also here in the home page, you have settings, which is the participant settings. So they can see their email address, phone and text preferences, although phone is not required, so that's why this field is empty. Name and address, next of kin, emergency contacts, and their consent form that they signed, or that they agreed to because it's an e-consent. Okay, you can go back to the home page, and let's say that you've gone through eVisit 1 multiple times and you want to see what eVisit 2 looks like and to test that out. Because again, we do want you to test out all the functionalities and all the surveys before this goes into production. So you would click on the URL /test, and you're going to be taken to a test panel. It looks kind of scary, but rest assured that there are only 2 main things that I want to show you here. So first, you can close an eVisit and then jump to the next eVisit just by clicking on this box. So close eVisit and open a new eVisit, and if you look here, it's going to go ahead and mark these as incomplete and then push you into the eVisit 2. And you can see eVisit 2 has already opened. So now to get back to that test user sharing, you're going to click on the logo, and now you're in eVisit 2. So now if you click Get Started, you'll see the health services questions. These are the follow-up questions. And if I go back to the home page, I can see that there are a total of 5 questionnaires in this section to complete. Yeah, so these are all the questions in the eVisit X or 2 section, and what's really neat is if you go back to the admin panel, again, we're working with participant sharing, and if we go back to the admin panel, we should be able to see Sharon's progress in real time. So here is Sharon. We have her email address, date of birth, she's consented, date she consented. If we click on her name, we can see her consent form, again, her email address, and you can kind of track the activity as well. So demographics to be completed, which is why there's that green checkbox. Remember that we skipped all these surveys and we jumped to eVisit 2, so that's why they're all X'd out and they expired. And then eVisit 2 completed one survey, but the rest are pending. So quality of life is pending, it hasn't been completed, it's just opened at this time. And these are the other surveys in eVisit 2. You could also look at messages and see what messages Sharon has received. However, at this time, messages is not configured, which is why it's not showing up. And then you could also click on reports, and again, this would have to be the day after you create this test user. You can click on reports, and then you would be able to see the activity, recruitment, user contact information for Sharon, or other test users that you've created, as well as the survey responses to the survey questions as well. And just going back to study maintenance reports here, again, we're looking at this at 6:15 Pacific Standard Time, which is why there are 2 dates listed here. What's actually occurring is that the study data reports are updating at this moment. Okay. And so that is all I wanted to really show you in terms of testing. When you do find discrepancies, again, please log them in the CHI study test Excel sheet. Describe the bug, the location, the expectation, Eureka ID, and then if you do have the ability to include a screenshot or a video of you testing and what errors you found, that would also be really helpful. And then in this last column, column F, you don't have to worry about this column, but this is where I'm going to be posting responses. So basically just letting you know what we're doing on our end to address those issues or discrepancies that you found. Okay, well that's all I had for today. Feel free to reach out if there are any questions.